DETV News is sponsored by Newcastle County Government.
It's time for little ones to get vaccinated, but will you make that decision for yours?
Plus, Wilmington says goodbye to a beloved pastor who's gained national recognition.
And a healthcare program is being piloted here in Delaware, keeping patients out of the hospital and in the comfort of their own home. Those stories, along with sports and weather, are coming up. Good evening and welcome to DETV News, your trusted news source. I'm Lauren Wilson.
And I'm Matt Ford. Thanks for joining us. Topping our news tonight, 5 to 11-year-olds can now get a COVID-19 vaccine. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention endorsed that recommendation to guard against COVID-19, clearing the way for immediate vaccinations of the youngest age group yet in the United States.
This is really important. This age group right now is the age group where we're seeing the highest case rates for COVID-19. And of course, this is an age group that is unvaccinated right now. And so we really want to push down these high case rates that we're seeing in this age group.
This new endorsement will allow about 28 million children in the U.S. to be vaccinated. Already, more than 78% of Americans ages 12 and older have gotten at least one shot, including millions of teenagers. DETV hit the streets to get reaction from parents about getting younger children vaccinated.
Just kind of concerned. It's just my thing on the research and how much we really know about it. Okay. I would let him decide. Okay. That's my opinion. I just think he gets to choose when he becomes of age of an adult. And he can decide what he wants to put in his body.
Well, considering we just got our children vaccinated over at the Delaware Public Health site on Maryland Ave, we're big proponents. By this point, after literally hundreds of millions of doses, none of them are concerned about any side effects of what's proven to be a safe and effective vaccine.
I don't really think they're old enough to get the vaccines right now because they little kids, so I don't really feel like they should be getting it, because, I don't really think that they be around too many people right at this moment. I think it's more grown-ups and teenagers that be around, their friends and family, more often than little kids.
Monday was the deadline for teachers in Delaware to either get vaccinated or be tested weekly for COVID-19. The Delaware Education Association is working with the state to provide testing inside schools for teachers who aren't vaccinated. This mandate isn't just for teachers, but for anyone working in school systems. With younger students still building up their immune systems and many not eligible for vaccines themselves, DSEA says all the mandate is doing is keeping the most vulnerable safe. And the association also says the state is footing the bill and it won't cost educators a dime.
In the meantime, the University of Delaware is still pushing to get students, faculty, and staff vaccinated. 100 people were able to get a shot in the arm at a clinic recently held on campus. It was a Pfizer first dose event for those who weren't vaccinated, but Pfizer boosters were also given to those who were 6 months past their first shot. Along with getting vaccinated against COVID-19, UD students and staff were also offered free flu shots.
Speaking of the flu, it's that time of year again. Flu season is upon us, and Delaware has already seen its first 2 cases. According to the Division of Public Health, the 2 cases involve a Kent County child under the age of 5 and a 26-year-old Sussex County woman. Public health officials say neither had been vaccinated against the flu. The flu vaccine is recommended for anyone 6 months of age and older and can be administered at the same time as the COVID-19 vaccine. The flu and COVID-19 have many similar symptoms, including fever, cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing. If you're sick, the best thing to do is call your health care provider to see if you can get tested for COVID-19 or come in for a visit.
The city and state is saying goodbye to a local pastor who was elevated to bishop. Lauren, you were there for the event. Let's take a look.
Trust me, trust
For more than 2 decades, parishioners, city, county, and state officials have trusted Reverend Sylvester Scott Beeman as a spiritual and civic leader, one who went beyond the walls of this church called Bethel AME in Wilmington. The seats empty here now due only to COVID restrictions. This was a farewell service, as Pastor Beeman is now Bishop Beeman, destined to leave this pulpit for an assignment that will begin with a move to Africa.
I've been here 28 years. Records are meant to be broken, but I declare right now I'm the GOAT. Amen. I got 28 rings to prove it. We won a championship every year.
Beeman became recognized as a worldwide champion on January 20th of 2021 when he delivered the benediction at the inauguration of President Joe Biden, a personal friend, a confidant who visited this church often over the span of 20 years. U.S. Senator Chris Coons, also a close ally, sent a videotaped goodbye message, while other elected officials came in person. All have been frequent visitors, and all have referred to Beeman as a civic advisor and personal counselor, each expressing the same pride that these parishioners felt when Beeman delivered that spirit-filled benediction on Inauguration Day.
At that moment, there were millions watching television sets across this country and across this world, including in Southern Africa, who were rising by this inspiration, raising their hands up and feeling like they were maybe no longer oppressed, feeling like maybe their empty stomachs would soon be filled.
Our friend and shepherd stood on the world's largest stage, the stage that makes so many look small, the inauguration of President Joe Biden, and looked like that podium was made for him.
Governor Carney presented the bishop and his wife Renee with the highest state honor, a plaque called the Order of the First State. It was a picture-taking day for officials, but for parishioners, a bittersweet moment to lift their hands in praise and to thank the newly appointed bishop who ended every single one of his service with the same call to action. You've come to worship, now leave to serve. Matt, while Bishop Beeman will be spending the majority of his time in Africa over the next 3 to 4 years, he'll visit Delaware often because his wife Renee, who is the director of state service centers in Delaware, will remain in Wilmington along with his 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren.
We certainly wish him the best.
Yes.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Your local weekend weather is on the other side, so stay with us. You're watching DETV News.
Let DART do the driving. DART First State provides transportation that is clean, safe, reliable, and affordable. Plan your trip and get real-time bus information with the free DART Transit app. Scan your phone to pay your fare with the free DART Pass app. So what are you waiting for? Try transit today. Visit dartfirststate.com or call 1-800-652-DART.
Thanks, Matt. This is your DETV weekend weather forecast. Friday, we're looking at a beautiful day with highs about 53 degrees. And on Saturday, we're looking at a mostly cloudy day with some pops of sunshine here and there with a high of about 55 degrees. Now on Sunday, definitely fall weather. It's going to be a bright and beautiful day with a high of about 56 degrees. That is your weekend weather forecast. I'm Shakira Denise. Back to you, Matt.
Thanks, Shakira. Delaware lawmakers voted Monday to approve new legislative district maps. Those maps reflect population changes over the past 10 years based on the U.S. Census. One of the major differences between the previous maps and the new ones is the elimination of the 4th House District in Newcastle County and its reconstitution in Sussex County. The district is currently represented by Democrat Gerald Brady of Wilmington. You may recall that Brady announced earlier this year that he would not seek re-election. The move came after reports that he used racist and sexist slurs to refer to sex workers. Residents of Brady's former district are being parceled out to neighboring districts to increase their population levels. The new 4th district in coastal Sussex County incorporates fast-growing areas bordering Rehoboth Bay and Indian River Bay.
Like most industries across the country, daycare centers and early childhood care facilities are struggling with staffing, but help is on the way. Governor Carney announced $120 million from the American Rescue Plan will be used for child care providers. The money will help facilities increase wages as well as help to keep the doors open. This investment is in addition to $66 million that's already been distributed. $10.6 million will go directly to financial relief for Delaware child care workers.
Barclays Bank announced it will hire hundreds of new employees at its Riverfront headquarters, where it recently invested $83 million to buy its offices after leasing them for 13 years. Governor John Carney, Mayor Mike Przicki, and Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer joined Denny Neal, the local head of Barclays, in celebrating the huge commitment in the city. The building acquisition was one of the biggest property sales in Delaware in many years. Barclays will hire more than 300 people in Wilmington. Those jobs are in addition to the nearly 325 call center jobs Barclays announced last June as another part of a state-supported investment in Wilmington. In addition to the local commitment, Barclays also donated $1 million to Delaware State University to support its year-old Global Institute for Equity, Inclusion, and Civil Rights. Tony Allen, president of DSU, says the donation will help with the growth of the university.
The next job is execution. Getting the checks is fine, but executing so that we can grow our university and continue to be one of the most prominent and consequential institutions in the country is #1 priority.
Allen adds Barclays will also support its Center for Neighborhood Revitalization Research and Center for Global Africa. The historically black university also recently opened a nearby riverfront campus. The donation demonstrates the strong relationship Barclays has built with DSU over the last 10 years.
Police are searching for a Wilmington man in connection to an attempted strangulation in Newark. A woman called police and said 41-year-old Jamel Chapman, seen here, punched her in the face several times and choked her until she became unconscious after an argument in a hotel room on South College Avenue. Chapman also allegedly held a razor blade to the victim's throat. Investigators say Chapman left before they arrived. Anyone who knows his whereabouts is urged to call Newark police.
Moving to Sussex County, we told you last week about the death of a 55-year-old Ocean View woman in the community of Bethany Crest. This week, police are reporting a Maryland man believed to be the killer has been extradited to Delaware. Jason Meredith of Hebron, Maryland, is accused of gunning down Cheryl Beckett Brown at a home in Bethany Crest on October 21st. Police say Beckett Brown and her roommate were inside when Meredith came in shooting. Shortly after that, deputies spotted Meredith driving a pickup truck erratically on a nearby road. They followed him to his home in Hebron, where he was arrested.
Well, here's one for the books. A New York man is behind bars today for breaking into an auto parts store in Newcastle so he could steal tools he needed to repair a stolen car. Delaware State Police say 61-year-old Thomas Gordon was spotted walking through a parking lot at the Firestone store on Newcastle Avenue late Friday night. Investigators were called to the scene after the store's burglar alarm went off. Gordon was arrested and is at the Howard Correctional Center now. Police say the car he was trying to fix was stolen out of New York.
Switching gears now, it's time for your DETV Health Report. We're thrilled to have her back. Here's Donnie Bougele-Smith.
Welcome back to DETV News. I'm Donnie Bougele-Smith here with some exciting news coming from BB Healthcare with the launch of their pilot program, Hospital at Home. Not to be confused with the traditional home health services that most of us are familiar with, Hospital at Home literally mimics the full range of services for acute inpatient care found in brick-and-mortar hospitals. This pilot is far more than just medical home visits, but also includes all the ancillary services available during a standard hospital stay, such as lab work, x-rays, meal programs, and social work. Now, still in its infancy, the program has proven to be successful in reducing or eliminating hospital-acquired infections and other accidents and falls. Equally as important, patients are reporting better recovery due to being in the comfort of their own home. To date, about 5% of hospital stays are utilizing the pilot program to great success. BB Healthcare has dedicated a team of medical and health experts to staff the program and have proven to be quite nimble in making adjustments to the program as needed. A key goal is to expand the program to 10% of hospital stays by next year. Here is Dr. William Chasnoff, Vice President and Chief Population Health Officer for BB Healthcare, sharing more about the goals of the program and what they are learning about population health and the patient experience.
So our goals are to continue to expand the program, basically in our market share. Right now, we have our central location in Lewis at our Margaret H. Rollins campus. CMS has some detailed definitions of how quick we must be in a home if a patient calls. So we probably are going to look to see if we can do more of a spoke and hub model where we'll have touchdown spaces as the program grows to expand through areas that we're covering in, further Sussex County, such as Bethany and Millville area as well. So we hope to continue to expand this to our community and make this, really a program that can be offered to many more and open it up to many more people. So that is one of our big goals from there. The other piece is, we had mentioned before that, we know this from home health. It's always a privilege for a patient to allow us as healthcare workers or anyone into their home. It is sometimes absolutely eye-opening to see what type of things that we can help with besides just medical care when they allow us into their home. And again, not to harp on social determinants of health, but how important it is to actually see how people live. When they're in the brick and mortar, we all do it. We all make assumptions, right? We all make assumptions of how people live, and people have food in their cabinets, and they have transportation, and they have, a stable roof over their head. And we all know that that's not always the case. So we hope to expand, in addition to just the program, to see how we can tie in some of our outreach programs, our population health team, and really how we can try to improve the health of Sussex County with programs like this.
Dr. Lynn Boskamp, who is BB Healthcare's Vice President of Nursing and Operations and Continuum of Care, Chief Nursing Officer and Administrator of Home Care Services, goes on to say that the hospital at home program model has produced innovative ideas for inpatient care and potential strategies for dealing with the pending nurse staffing shortage. I am definitely looking forward to hearing more about the success of this program and hope to see it expand to more counties in the state of Delaware soon. This is your health report for the week. Stay with us. More news with Matt and Lauren after this break.
This message is brought to you by Newcastle County Government.
Hi, I'm Dr. Neil Hochstein at ENT and Allergy of Delaware. We've been very fortunate to be protected from COVID-19 with the vaccines, but now we're hearing a lot about booster shots. If you're over 65 or have some immune compromise, booster shots are an effective way to strengthen your immune system again. It's the same vaccine that you received with your first or second dose, and it can extend and strengthen the protection that you've already received. Keep yourself and your friends and family safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Donnie. In more health news, the third case of West Nile virus has been discovered in Delaware. According to the Division of Public Health, an 87-year-old Kent County woman is the latest victim. West Nile is transmitted by mosquitoes. Symptoms include headache, fever, stiff neck, along with tremors and muscle weakness. Even though mosquito season has passed, health officials say it's still important to cover up or wear repellent.
Despite all of the delays and restrictions caused by COVID-19, newly certified paramedics are ready to go hit the streets. 21 paramedics graduated in a ceremony held at the University of Delaware with all of the pomp and circumstance they deserve. 11 of the new paramedics are now members of Newcastle County's 3rd Paramedic Academy. They achieved both state and national licenses and registrations. All of the graduating paramedics were pinned by loved ones and all worked hard to become life-saving first responders.
But believe me, nothing was going to stop this group. This academy class kept learning, they kept field training, and eventually tested under stringent social distancing, and direct contact precautions. And they passed. They all passed.
Here's a warning. Delaware is included in a food recall. Multi-pack tasty cakes, including the cream-filled chocolate cupcakes, are being recalled by Flower Foods because it possibly contains fragments of metal mesh wire in them. The affected cupcakes have an enjoy date of December 14th, 18th, and 21st. If you have them in your cupboard, return the tasty cakes to the place of purchase for a full refund.
Tasty cakes are my downfall, but I haven't had any in a while, so hopefully I'm safe there. Some life-saving tips were given to the public to end October's National Pedestrian Safety Month. It happened at Route 13 and Bolden Boulevard, one of the busiest spots where pedestrians cross the street in Newcastle County. With the increase in people getting struck and sometimes killed while crossing streets, State Police spokesman Jason Hatchell says the decision was made to make in-person demonstrations so people will put safety first instead of taking unnecessary risks.
You know, we have observed an increase in pedestrian crashes, much like this intersection we identified, 13 and Bolden Boulevard. There's been 6 crashes here this year to date. We attribute that to, number one, not proper utilization of crosswalks, the importance of pressing the crosswalk button, waiting for the walk figure to show, and crossing, getting across the roadway before the red hand comes back up.
We're going to take a quick break, but stay with us. Your local sports report with Nick Alessandrini is up next. You're watching DETV News.
Auto accident, medical negligence, work injury. Contact Team Tice, your Delaware personal injury lawyers. Leroy Tice in Wilmington, Delaware, serving and supporting the people of Delaware. Call 302-489-2400. That's 302-489-2400. Online at teamtice.com.
Welcome back to DETV News. I'm Nick Alessandrini. As always, some big high school football games in Week 8. Volleyball playoffs are underway, and the Hens and Birds looking to keep things rolling this weekend after rebounding with wins last time out. Let's start with high school football. Another huge matchup between top 5 teams in Class 3. It's Sally's and Smyrna last Friday night at Abysinio Stadium, and it was a monsoon. Connor Campbell going to get the scoring started for the Salesianum as the quarterback goes for a short score here after the defense turned Smyrna over inside their own 15, but from that point on, it was all Smyrna. Smyrna would get 2 rushing scores from Wayne Knight in the second quarter to give them a 14-7 lead at the break, and the second half, the Eagles defense picked up exactly where they left off, holding Sally's, who came in averaging 32 points a game, to just 7 points and 127 yards of total offense. The Eagles defense forced 2 turnovers and added 4 sacks, and Wayne Knight, he finished with over 200 yards of total offense and 3 touchdowns. Quarterback Cameron Edge still threw for 279 yards and 2 scores in those rainy conditions. Smyrna rolls 28-7 with a big win over Sally's. Next, a big one down south between Woodbridge and Lake Forest. Woodbridge coming in at 7-0, looking to remain unbeaten, but facing a very tough opponent in the Lake Forest Spartans. The Blue Raiders would go down early again in this one, trailing 14-0 on 2 touchdown passes, one brought out from the trick book for the Spartans. Kenny Newton, though, would help pull Woodbridge in within 1 score in the first quarter on a 1-yard touchdown run. Then in the second quarter, the Blue Raiders would score 3 times and then ride a scoreless second half on their way to a 22-14 victory. Newton finishes with 39 carries for 155 yards and a touchdown, and even threw one for the Woodbridge Blue Raiders in the win. Finally, from last week, Cape Henlopen and the Appo Jaguars. Now, this season, we kind of grew accustomed to that Appo defense setting the tone, but it was the offense putting in work against the Vikings. Daniel McConomy ran for 4 touchdowns, and quarterback Ryan Von Brandt threw for 2 more as the Appo Jaguars get their 4th straight win. This one over Cape, 55-27. Over 930 yards of combined offense in an action-packed game. You can see the kick block return for a touchdown here by Nassim Griffin. A lot of highlights in this one. McConomy, he ran 16 times for 157 yards and the 4 touchdowns, and quarterback Ryan Von Brandt also ran for over 100 yards, threw for 130 more, and the touchdown pass. Now over to volleyball. We had our playoff brackets released earlier this week. The Spartans from St. Mark's, they grabbed that top seed with a 14-0 record. The Spartans have only dropped 2 sets all year as they look for state championship number 12. The top 8 seeds will receive first-round byes, and the first-round games were played yesterday and today, and you can see the bracket on your screen. Some results from yesterday's first-round games. Tower Hill over Archmere 3-1. The Hillers will now get the Spartans in round 2. Smyrna gets a clean 3-0 sweep over Concord. They now get number 2 seeded Padua, and number 14 Ursuline, they get first round action against number 19 Apo. Sweep for the Raiders, 3-0 there. And then number 13 DMA, the Seahawks get a 3-0 sweep over number 20 Polytech. So Ursuline will now take on number 3 Red Lion, and number 13 DMA will now face number 4 Wilmington Charter. Quarterfinals will take place on Tuesday, November 9th, with doubleheaders at St. E's and St. Mark's starting at 6 p.m. Last week was a good week for our local birds. The Eagles and the Hens both able to get back in the win column, but might be a little more tough this week. The Eagles took a lot of heat last week, a bad loss to the Raiders out west before the Lions game. Defense didn't look good. The whole Nick Sirianni flower analogy mess early last week, but the Eagles responded. A huge win on the road against the winless Lions, 44-6. But this week might be a little tougher test for the Eagles as they welcome the 4-3 LA Chargers to the Link on Sunday. Still no Miles Sanders for the Eagles. He remains on IR. Look for Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell to split up that workload. And Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert was limited at practice yesterday with a hand injury, so something to keep an eye on as we get ready for Eagles-Chargers on Sunday at 4:05. The Blue Hens, like the Eagles, got a nice win last week. It ended a 3-game skid with that 17-10 win over visiting Dixie State last Saturday. The Hens were able to rush for 170 yards on 37 carries and hold on late to improve 4-4 on the year. Backup quarterback Zach Gwynn had his best game of the season, throwing for 215 yards on 19 completions. Gwynn and company will look to keep it rolling Saturday at home in Newark against number 20 ranked William and Mary. The Tribe have won 6 of 7, including a big win last time out over Villanova. Delaware will have to bring their A game on Saturday. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. And now it's time for our Delaware Live Sports Top Plays of the Week. We've got 4 great ones for you here from week number 8. Getting started right at number 4, it's Cape Henlopen, Hank D'Ambrogi to Chancellor Johnson. Again, from one of our game of the weeks last week, Cape and Apo. D'Ambrogi going to fake the toss, roll out, find Johnson in the flat, and then check out the broken tackles here. Just going to show off the speed, cut inside, then get to the sideline. No one going to touch him. Impressive play there for the touchdown at number 4. On to number 3, Daniel McConomy. You heard about his stats earlier in the broadcast, and now check out this highlight from Apo. Going to take the handoff straight up the gut, 60 yards, and he's going to get right through that hole. Shows off the speed there once again. Touched very at the end, but going to break that tackle on his way to a big touchdown run for the Jaguars. 1 of 4 from McConomy last week. On to number 2, Cameron Edge and Wayne Knight. You know that combination from Smyrna, one of the better teams here in Delaware. This one going to set up the screen at their own 5-yard line for Wayne Knight, who makes the catch, cuts inside, follows his blockers, breaks a tackle at the 40, and then he's off to the races. Gets some good blocks downfield from the receiving core, and no one going to catch Wayne Knight. A huge night for him, over 200 yards of offense and a couple scores. A big one there at number 2. Then on to number 1, Elijah Husser and Naseem Griffin from Appoquinimink. You heard me talk about it earlier as well. Here comes Husser, going to run in, get the block, and then Griffin going to run, scoop it up at the 35, and take it the rest of the way to the 40, the 30, the 20, and the 10. A click block field goal return for a touchdown. That's your top play from Appoquinimink at number 1. And that'll do it for sports this week. We're going to take a short break. More DETV news after the break.
Welcome back. If you have a criminal record, listen up. State Representative Darius Brown is hosting expungement fairs in all 3 counties. The first was held at Simpson United Methodist Church in Newport. Anyone seeking advice on if they're eligible or how to erase their criminal record or how to go about it is encouraged to come. The other fairs are scheduled over the next 3 weeks in Kent and Sussex counties, with Brown saying all 3 are aimed at giving people a second chance to right a wrong.
Individuals' background and criminal history can become a barrier for them to obtain employment and housing and jobs, and so we want to remove that barrier so that people can expand economic opportunity and ultimately upward mobility for themselves and their household. And the expungement process is one of those processes that now has been created over the past 2 years for individuals beyond just receiving a pardon, getting a second chance at life.
The fair in Kent County will take place at Mount Zion Church on 101 North Queen Street on November 11th. In Sussex County, the last expungements fair will be held on November 16th at the Georgetown Town Hall. Both fairs are scheduled to begin from 3 to 6 p.m.
For some, it was a creepy way to spend Halloween weekend, but for others, it was historic. Ground-penetrating radar was used at the Christina Cemetery in Newark, where 36 Revolutionary War patriots were buried. The head of Christina Cemetery wants to know if all the war patriots were actually buried where their headstones should be, and if historic records reflect all of the burials that took place 200 years ago.
The older military section is going to be challenging. Back in the day, they didn't use vaults. They didn't even use caskets at some at some points in time. So it was just either an individual wrapped in muslin and maybe covered with some rocks. So that'll be interesting to find.
The survey at the cemetery will be used to create a digitized map of the property. And some chronically ill homeowners in Newark got a helping hand thanks to a group of University of Delaware students. 40 students showed up to rake leaves and do other yard work over the weekend for the ailing residents. It was all part of a fall cleanup and ice cream social sponsored by an organization called Lori's Hands. The nonprofit organization teams up with chronically ill students with UD students who do everything from yard work to helping with household chores.
And those students are able to provide the community members with tangible support in their day-to-day activities. And in turn, they get to form these really wonderful friendships and relationships with people outside of their college bubble. So they end up forming really wonderful friendships that often last far beyond graduation.
The UD volunteers often form real bonds with the residents they help, something that means a lot to the students and those that are so ill they need and appreciate the help.
Centennial celebrations continue for Wilmington's fire department. Mayor Mike Przicki was there when the Bancroft Construction Company gave the fire department a special gift. In recognition of National First Responders Day on October 28th, the company presented the department with Michael Israel's famous painting titled Hero. It was created 20 years ago after the September 11th attacks. The painting will remain on display in the lobby of the City-County building so it can be featured in the return of Wilmington's Art Loop on December 3rd. It will then be transferred to the Wilmington Department's headquarters at 22nd South Hill Street.
And DETV was on hand as the Wilmington Public Library continued its Straight Talk series last evening with Dennis Rodman, a flamboyant and often controversial former professional basketball player. Nicknamed the Worm, Rodman was known for his fierce defensive and rebounding abilities. He's played for many NBA teams, including the Chicago Bulls, Los Angeles Lakers, and the Dallas Mavericks. During most of his playing career, Rodman became famous for being a legendary rebounder with a bad boy persona, which included dressing in drag and sporting rainbow hair, a nose ring, and tattoos, stuff that was pretty taboo for NBA players in the mid-1990s. DETV's founder Ivan Thomas was one of the moderators of the session, where attendees of the free event got to hear Rodman speak about his life, career, and some of today's hot topics.
Finally, as if trick-or-treating weren't enough, crowds returned to Rehoboth's popular Sea Witch Festival over the weekend. For the third time in 31 years, the city managed to stump sea witch hunters, two of whom came close but did not name the exact hiding place of the giant green beloved sea witch. Locals and visitors did agree on a name after a voting process was held before the parade and festival. The Rehoboth Sea Witch will now be known as Hilda. Yes, there were some other names tossed around.
Really?
Like
what were they?
Rehobotha was one of them, Dolly, and Hagatha.
Hagatha, okay. What's your favorite?
Rehobotha, I think I like Rehobotha.
I think I agree.
best.
I like Rehobotha.
Well, that is our Week in Review. Thanks for watching DETV News. I'm Lauren Wilson.
And I'm Matt Ford. Be sure to check out DETV across social media. Stay well, and we'll see you next time.